It's a unique moment in our sport. We have number one taking on number two. We have the upcoming, just crazy great young player who's probably going to be an all-time great, probably, if he stays healthy and everything goes as it's going, and he keeps seeing the improvements he's seeing. And also, Novak Djokovic, the guy who's already at the top of the sport. This is the way that it's looking like it's going to go, and we have two guys who are complete players across all three surfaces playing incredible epics, big finals, and this is a moment that we absolutely need to appreciate because they're playing at one of the highest levels that we've seen ever in the sport, if not the highest. And that's something that we have to appreciate while it's here, because you just never know with tennis, things change quickly. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Welcome to the Tennis Commentary Booth. So, of course, I want to talk about the Cincinatti Final that just happened, and I want to talk about the Alcaraz-Djokovic rivalry in general, and I want to talk about what this moment in the sport, how it stands out to the history of the sport and the future of the sport as well. The Cincinatti Final between Djokovic and Alcaraz, the final at Wimbledon between Novak Djokovic and Alcaraz, two matches that I think most people at this point would call all-time great matches, or at least two matches that will go down in the history of the sport and what it has to offer. I mean, when do we get generational battles like this between a guy that so clearly seems on an all-time trajectory, not just by stats or results, but by the level that he brings on a clear eye test, which is just absolutely amazing. I mean, when do we see stuff like this? Playing against the guy who many would call already the GOAT. It's really crazy stuff. And listen, I mean, Sampras played Federer at Wimbledon 2001. Federer won. That was the one time they played. They played an exhibition, like in 2008. But 2003, 2001, Federer beat Sampras. This is the only time they played. Sampras was like 31. Djokovic is 36. Djokovic is 36, is very old in tennis terms. Like 20 years ago, basically no one would play to 36. That's almost unheard of. Fabrice Santoro may be an exception to that rule, but not even 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago, that just was unheard of. And Novak Djokovic is 36, but still, amazingly, with as Nadal has done, as Federer has done, amazing longevity at the top to stay at a top level. And it's crazy to watch this kind of era where, listen, how many rivalries are this esteemed and probably will have less than 10 matches? Or very well could have less than 10. Almost definitely will have less than 15. Djokovic-Alcaraz. It could go down as one of the best rivalries ever. They could play 8 matches. They're not going to play that many times. They're not going to play that many times. We have to appreciate every time we see them in a big final. They played on the clay in RG. They played on the grass at Wimbledon. They played a tiebreaker in Cincinnati. Djokovic is the king of tiebreakers. He's the king of tiebreakers. And they played in Cincinnati. It was absolutely chaos. I mean, from the get-go, absolute chaos. Djokovic had a break in the first set of 4-2, even though Alcaraz had a pretty great start. Then Djokovic fell off. Alcaraz started playing better. Djokovic started suffering from what seemed like heat stroke. Just seemed completely out of it on the court. And unlike I've seen him, seemed like it was going to be a kind of reversal from the French Open when Alcaraz was feeling bad. And then suddenly Alcaraz came back. Alcaraz was up a break in the second set at 4-3 serving, and Djokovic fought back. He was up 4-2 in the second set. Djokovic fought back. And then Alcaraz had a match point in the breaker, which Djokovic saved with a big forehand. I didn't even think he had to go that big on the forehand, but he probably did because Alcaraz was getting everything. Saved a match point in the tiebreaker, won the second set 9-7 in the breaker. And then third set, everyone's going crazy because people didn't think Djokovic was coming back, but that's a shame. On tennis, forgetting what tennis has been for the last 20 years, because that has been the normal. It's been the normal. For a big three guy to win and save match points, find a way, no matter what. No matter what. Against anybody, especially a young guy, because they've just been feasting on the next gens, on next gen, on next gen. They've been feasting on the next gens and not letting them have a scrap. not letting them have a scrap. And listen, that's not the normal. It's not the normal in tennis history for there to be a dominance like the Big Three dominance, but that's been the new normal for the last 20 years, and Alcaraz has broken that kind of Big Three dominance, that normal, shifted things around in many ways. And starting in Madrid last year, where he beat Djokovic and Nadal back-to-back, he's been breaking cycles, and it's looking like Alcaraz wants to dominate and wants to create a brand new era. I want to talk about the Cincinatti Final particularly. I already have a little bit, especially about that third set. That was absolutely bonkers as well. I want to talk more about that. But it's just, I want to talk about their rivalry. I want to talk about the Djokovic-Alcaraz rivalry. I mean, I can go through the matches a bit, but I think it's just such a unique moment in the sport to have two guys who are playing such complete games across all three surfaces. Both guys, very complete. Both guys, very good on all three surfaces. That's not that common. And for them to be playing at the highest level, number one and number two in the world. When Federer and Sampras played, Federer was not number one. Alcaraz is number one. And Djokovic is kind of the underdog in these matches now in a way. I don't know. Who's the underdog in their next match? Tied up at 2-2. Are they going to play in New York? Are they going to play at the U.S. Open? It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm super excited about what they're bringing to the sport, and their kind of rivalry. It's I think it's very exciting, and I don't think there's been anything like that in tennis before. I mean, Roosevelt played a long time. Connors was coming up when Roosevelt was young, and then Connors played Sampras a couple of times, lost in straight sets both times, and then what else do you have? And then Sampras, Federer. I mean, but there's never been something like this. Not really. Not really. It's a unique moment in the sport, and every match that they play, we gotta appreciate. And how good is it for tennis fans? For an era the likes of we'll never see again. I talked about the Big Three dominance and how it's outside of the norm. What these guys have done, won whatever. I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but I know that only about 7, 8, 9 active players have won a major. I know that only Stan, Andy, and the Big Three won a major outside of New York, from Sofin winning 2005 Australian Open to Alcaraz winning Wimbledon just in this last major. I know those stats. I know that from 2010 to 2016 seasons, they were the only 4 players outside of the Big Four won at any of the Masters. I know that. Wawrinka, Cilic, Tsonga, I think, Del Potro maybe. I think Del Potro won in 2018, not even Delpo. These guys were hoarding up everything. They were hoarding up everything, and that is not the norm. So how good is it in this unbelievable era, as it's coming to a close, we get this young powerhouse shot maker, insane player to test out the best of them all, Novak, at the biggest stages. We got to appreciate this moment right here, right now. People are saying Alcaraz is the GOAT. People are saying Alcaraz is the future GOAT. He's going to get 30 majors. Federer was first to 20, Alcaraz getting 30. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. But I think a lot of people would be surprised if Alcaraz doesn't get at least 10 majors if he stays healthy. I think some people would be surprised if he doesn't get at least 20, even though 20 is a ridiculous number, which we're all spoiled to at this point. So there's a lot to say. But about the Cincinnati Final in particular, it was a really up and down match. In some ways, I think the level was higher at Wimbledon. I think the level might have been higher at Wimbledon in some ways, at least until the kind of last sprint of the match, which was unbelievable level and some of the most electric back and forth topsy-turvy games in tennis you'll ever see. It really was. The last set is one of the best sets of tennis in tennis history, I think. And it was a well-deserved third set to decide the rematch of Wimbledon. To decide a 1-1 head-to-head for the season so far. Novak got him on the clay. Carlos got him on the grass, kind of a reversal of most people's expectations. And then after that, we got this tiebreaker, and it was a really great match. And I think that even though some of the level there might have been a drop from Novak for the first, from about 4-2 in the first set to about 4-3 in the second. and there might have been some uncharacteristic errors at bad moments from both players at times. There's also the mental strength at play from both guys was also unbelievable, which really evens out the match in some ways. Because there were times when you feel like a player could have converted, or there's a time where you feel like a player didn't play as well. There's also times when they played unbelievable, as Novak and Carlos are playing at the moment, and showed some clutch tennis. Novak with the most miraculous comeback, Carlos saving match point after match point, including his second match point save, which might be the greatest ever. It certainly is up there. In 2011, we had Novak hitting the return of serve, which was heard all across the world, the forehand return past Federer at the US Open. That's certainly up there, but I think that what this match point save just blew everyone's mind, kind of like 2008 Wimbledon, and even though Carlos didn't win the match, I think it's certainly up there as one of the best match point saves ever, that number 2 shot. We always see something we've never seen before in the Carlos-Novak match, and listen, I never counted Novak out, just because I've watched Novak for too long, and I just feel like counting him out would be a mistake, and Carlos as well. I didn't really count him out in the third set. I did a live stream for Quality Shot Tennis I said I'm not counting Alcaraz out just yet, and Alcaraz almost came back, pushed it to a tiebreak. So anyway, it was very topsy-turvy. 5-5 game was unbelievable too. People are talking about 5-4, 5-3, but the 5-5 game, lots of break points for Djokovic. Alcaraz holds anyway. So many stunning points. Every game in that third set was unbelievable, and and Djokovic towards the second set really started to dictate more, hit the shot bigger. Alcaraz wasn't dictating. Djokovic was moving better. The heat seemed like it was affecting him less. And Alcaraz's forehand was being equalized much better. He was able to push Alcaraz back. And he was getting first serves in. I mean, he wasn't getting first serves in. Set 1, first serve percentage for Novak was 57% for Novak in that first set. 48% first serve points won. That's what Novak had in the first set that Carlos won. And so many things happened throughout that match. It's almost hard to believe, but there were so many twists and turns. Both guys played great. Novak volleyed great too, by the way. I was amazed with some of the drop volleys he was hitting. It was like Carlos. He had Carlos in his body, and that's what it felt like for a lot of the match too. He was hitting the forehand big. He really turned it around and made us all remember who Novak is, what we're witnessing. We're witnessing Novak, the clutch GOAT, versus the clutch GOAT of the next 20 years of tennis. And that's an amazing thing to witness in real time, and we can only hope that we get it in New York as well. But yeah, it was a topsy-turvy match. I mean, Novak up a break, then Carlos comes back, and then the second set, Carlos up a break, Novak comes back, and then Carlos has a match point, Novak comes back, wins 9-7 the breaker. Topsy-turvy, long third set, so long, one of the longest sets ever, I think. And 5-3, Novak has a couple match points. 5-4, Novak has a couple match points. Carlos breaks, everybody goes absolutely bonkers. 5-5, there's about 5 or 6 deuces. Novak's playing aggressive, he's moving better, but Carlos is not giving up, and then Novak clutches it out in the breaker. And we're at 2-2, and 2-all in the head-to-head. And listen, at the French Open, set 2, I still think is one of the best sets of tennis in recent memories in the French Open match. Set 1 wasn't that great, but just on Carlos's side. But set 2 in the French Open was phenomenal, and included one of the best shots ever hit, which was Carlos running behind him and hitting not a tweener, but this just crazy squash shot at his side, which was really phenomenal athleticism and about 500 other things combined in a single moment. But every single match shows us something special. Wimbledon was incredible as well with Novak up and then him not converting on set point with a couple backhand errors, but Carlos clutching up and playing such a clutch second half of that match, and especially the fifth set. So I really appreciate the rivalry. I appreciate what they're giving to us, and I think Carlos is going to have to find a way to dictate better and to do better against Novak, who was coming to the net a lot in this match as well. And but he'll have an answer. He'll feel like he mentally didn't finish the match, which maybe he didn't with that match point, although there's really very little he could do, even with the chances that he had, and serving, also being up a break in that second set, which is maybe even the bigger thing. So he'll learn from it, and he'll get better, just like Novak did after Wimbledon 2, and they're at 2-2. You would think we'll see another one of these. I don't know. I hope we see more big finals between the two. It's going to be super interesting at the U.S. Open. The draw comes out. Medvedev plays. Sinner plays. Runa. So many other guys that are interesting as well. I kind of have some guys as dark horses too. Dimitrov, Sebastian Korda. There are a few guys that I kind of have a good feeling about going into the tournament. Jari has been playing well. Greek Sport's been playing well. There are a few guys. Kachanov, if he's healthy, has really played well this year. So, and Tommy Paul as well. Tommy Paul is a big dark horse for me. So, those are a few guys that have my eye on. But yeah, I'll try to do a U.S. Open preview tomorrow. But those were my thoughts on Novak versus Carlos. And you can only hope we get more classics between the two. But I'll end off like this. Appreciate the moment of this sport because it's not going to last forever, and you never know how many more matches like this we're going to see. And it's not only the level that we're seeing, and it's not even the fact that it's number one playing number two. It's the fact that in the future, Carlos could go down as one of the greatest ever. We never know. I'm not saying he will be the best ever. I'm not saying he's going to win 30 majors for sure, at all for sure. I don't think he will, but he might. But I don't think that, I think that he could end up being one of the best ever, and if he will become one of the best ever if he keeps on this trajectory. And we got to appreciate the moment, because this is it's a moment that is amazing now, and with history, it's going to be historic, and it's going to be absolutely even more phenomenal to watch as time goes by. So when we're watching it real time, we got to appreciate the fact that this is a moment unlike any other we'll see in the sport, and it's one of the best things going on in sports right now, in general as well, in sport. So appreciate Alcaraz versus Novak, young GOAT taking on the GOAT. I don't know when else we see a rivalry like this. I've been Anthony Hirsch. This has been Tennis Commentary Booth. I appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll post more content on here. Gonna have the U.S. Open preview for you tomorrow, and I'm also hoping to post more on here if I can. Been a bit busy. I'm gonna be busy, but I hope to post more. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the next video. Let's hope we get Carlos versus Novak #5 in New York. See you guys in the next video.